Good evening, class. Today is November the 18th, 2020, and I'm excited for us to continue our discussion on financial education. Last week, we had a special guest speak on the importance of individual financial literacy and the importance of strategizing and having a solid personal financial stability, stable space. Well, today we have another special speaker who is going to talk about the importance of having a healthy status financially with your business. We have Mr. Sean Lewis. A lot of you all met him last week. He was making comments when Javon was presenting. And so he will be presenting to us as a continuation to Javon's message last week. But first, I want to go through a little bit of housekeeping before we go into our special speaker today. Everyone know my expectations. Your CRED assignment. Your CRED assignment, I believe, is due this Friday. If you haven't done that assignment, please do so because there are multiple parts. It's going to count, I believe, 32 points, which is a significant grade. But I don't want you all to feel pressure in terms of figuring out what is right and what is wrong. This assignment is for you all to think about how you can connect your talents and your strengths and things that you experience in a daily life, and how you can translate that into skill sets and talents that is transferable for work. And so UNT Dallas is endorsing, and we condone and we practice experiential learning on this campus. And that is being able to learn outside of traditional classroom means, whether it's through your life experiences, whether it's through like being an entrepreneur, through actually making mistakes or living life and learning from those mistakes or challenges, is experience still have value in how you progress as a professional. And so this assignment is to help you hone that in. So please take time, the remaining time this week, to really put your best effort in. Again, I am not going to grade on what's right or what's wrong. I just want you all to express as effectively as you can, and make sure you follow the guidelines with breaking down and answering all of the questions. That's on part 2. So part 1 you can do, but part 1 is like a setup, preparation, a brainstorm before actually making your thoughts, collecting your thoughts, and making it in a succinct paper. So please look at part 1, but focus your assignment submission on part 2. All right. Are there any questions? Yes.
So we're not turning in part 1, those questions? We don't.
You can turn them in. It's fine. You can turn them all in on that one assignment, but I'm going to be grading on part 2.
Okay. Because I have my setup for part 1. So do you want me just to add it as a second page?
Yeah, you can just add it as an addendum. You'll be fine.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. All right. Any other questions? All right. If not, you please feel free. Oh, hey, Marcella.
Sorry, I'm late.
No.
But this is being recorded, right? So you'll have it posted?
Yes. I'll post it later tonight.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. No problem. All right. Next on under housekeeping or Canvas assignments, please, we're approaching the last stretch of our semester. We have about 4 weeks remaining, less than 4 weeks actually. So please turn in your assignments. If you noticed, I do not write zeros under blank assignments. Now, the effect of that is you will not have an accurate grade on your final papers or your final grade in Canvas if I don't include zeros if you miss. So starting after Thanksgiving, I will be filling in blank assignments with zeros so that you can know where you all stand. So you can know what assignments you need to do, so that you all can have an accurate grade. Are there any questions about that? No, great. So please complete your assignments. Group presentations. Group presentations are due the day before Thanksgiving, November 25th. And what is submitted? What will be turned in? Well, I believe. No. I take that back. Wrong class. False alarm. Group presentations in this class are going to be done the week of final exams, the last week of the semester. And so we're all scheduled to do our final exams Wednesday, December 9th at 7:30 p.m. And what we will do is we have a 2-hour block between 7:30 and 9:30. I will assign your group time, a 20-minute block for you to make your 10 to 15-minute presentation to me. Now, in this 20-minute block, it'll only be myself and your entire group. So you're not presenting to the whole class unless you all want. No, we're not going to do that. That's too much for me. I don't have that bandwidth yet. But we're just going to do one-on-one. So you'll see a message from me the week right after Thanksgiving in terms of your assignment. But know that you're going to present and you're going to submit your final presentations on December the 9th. Are there any questions? No? Good deal. And lastly, Thanksgiving holiday. We're not going to have class next Wednesday because next Thursday is Thanksgiving, but I'll be available if y'all have any questions. I will log on at 7 o'clock or so. And so please feel free to log on if y'all have any questions next Wednesday. All right? Does that cover everything? Does anyone have any other questions that I can address possibly? Okay, no problem. All right. Now we're going to finish our presentation. It's 7:12. Sean, if you would, if you're available, please unmute yourself or place yourself in video, and then we'll get started. We'll get started with our presentation.
Hello, class. How's everyone? Thumbs up if you can hear me. All right, I like thumbs up.
Oh, Sean, before you get started,
please,
if you can, please turn your videos on during this presentation so that we can have interactions here. All right.
Oh, thank you. I turned my you can't see me?
No. You turned your video. I was referring to the rest of the class.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that.
Let me share my screen.
All right.
And you all can tell me if you can see that.
We're good.
Presentation mode there real quick.
Just cranking up.
And you don't want to do that for me?
Oh, hold on.
There we go.
Okay, there we go.
Can you all see that?
Yes.
Great. I wanted to pick up from Javon's class last week and make it really not just interactive, but practical for you as well. So again, as I share, I know I get a little hype sometime and I can talk a little fast. So raise your hands to slow me down. Or Professor Houston certainly can slow me down. And if there's an area you want to delve into, because unfortunately, I've succeeded and failed in all of these areas we're going to talk about on how to operate your business. So I definitely have real world experiences. And if you have any questions that you really want to ask me, please don't hesitate. Okay? So you can come off mute. I won't bite. Don't worry. You got a smile out of Charlotte, right? Is that how you pronounce it? Carlette.
Carolette.
Carolette, thank you. Hey, all right. Got it. Carolette, I like that. I've never seen the Carolette. I like that name. You're welcome.
Well, thank you.
Well, you're welcome. Okay. Now, Javon, as you all may recall, talked about this last week, and this particular slide really intrigued me. What reason why it intrigued me is because if you notice at the top of it, it says the unfortunate facts. So this is the facts of life. By the time you hit age 65, out of 100 people. So if we counted everyone that's on the video tonight, we'll round it up. We'll round it up to, let's say 100, even though it's about 10 to 15. 36% of you, or actually 36 people, will be dead by the time we get 65. Great plug for why you should really consider life insurance, right? Unfortunately, 54 will be financially embarrassed. And that really stuck to me because I have been at times in my life, and I will admit, will date myself, I'm actually older than 54, will be financially embarrassed. And I've had moments in my life where I was financially embarrassed. 5 will still be working, so 5% of 5 of you. 4 will be financially secure. So only 4% of you, if it was 100 of us here, right? Only 4 of you will be financially secure, but only 1 of you will be wealthy. That is very sobering. So the reason why I really want to stress upon you why Javon's class was so important, we're going to take his principles, and then what we're going to do after we take his principles is we're going to tie them into how you go about operating a business. Okay, and if you notice again, the one that really struck out to me was 54% of 54 people will actually be financially embarrassed. That means more than 50% out of 100. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. So let's pick up on what Javon talked about last night. A week ago, today. He gave us 10 steps to really debt-free and have a truly wealthy life. Okay, the ones I want to focus on tonight, I'm not going to go and even go back over the 10. I want to focus on number 1, setting a goal. Number 2, okay, make sure and continuous learning and maintenance. Just 1, and we're going to go to 1 and 10. Those are the 2 I want to focus on. All the other ones are self-explanatory. He went into that. So we're going to skip 2 because it actually is brought up in my presentation that I'm going to talk about tonight, but in the context of a business. Okay. He used this example, which is also very realistic. It's actually higher now, but we're going to take of setting a goal of if we had $15,000. So let's say all 15 of us tonight had $15,000 and we set a goal. And our goal is we want to start our own business. So in 5 years, we want to get out of $15,000 of credit card debt. And there are different types of things that Javon gave you. I also mentioned like snowball debt reduction is one where you pay off the highest paying credit card, and then you take that money you've been paying to that credit card, once you wipe it out, and you add it to the interest of your next credit card. There are other ways too. You all brought up how to basically pay a credit card down, or how to use credit properly. Those are good. Sometimes not necessarily you want to get out of debt right away of a credit card. You may want to start paying it down, but you want to always have more money in your bank account, right? So we talked about that. So we talked about how $2,300 basically would be in your pocket if you were able to pay that debt off in 5 years. So by the end of 5 years, you would have $11,520 plus interest. So our goal is to do that in 5 years. That's what we're going to walk down this imaginary road tonight together. Okay? You with me so far? Great. Okay, so now we've set our goal. So now we decided to become entrepreneur, right? So how do you operate your business now that you decide to become an entrepreneur? That's the thing I want to tackle tonight, right, for you guys. And trust me, these are all real world experiences. Okay, let's talk about the mindset of entrepreneur. Okay, what must be the mindset of entrepreneur? You must be the boss because you are. The buck stops with you. Everything, good, bad, or indifferent. I don't want to get any sport analogies. I want to keep it about business. You've heard the quarterback analogy, the point guard. No, we can use all kinds of. No, this is your business now. We've all worked hard to save $11,000, right? Almost 12, not including interest. And now you're going to put that to work. So the buck stops with you. So being the boss means if you're going to be CEO, right, you are the visionary, you set the direction and the strategy. Number two, okay, you have to, okay, act like a COO. How many of you heard that term before, COO? Right? Chief Operating Officer. You're the operational person. You're the tactical one. You set the strategy, right? But the tactician of you, the one that actually does everything, or you delegate people to do everything, right, for you, but you are the final decision maker because you're responsible for everything because you're the boss now, is the operator of the business. You got to act like that, right? You can't go, oh, I don't want to stay up late and complete this spreadsheet of what I need to do for this event tomorrow because you're the boss. If you had an event management company or if you had a restaurant, oh, I'm tired, I want to go home. No, I'll make everybody else do it. No, you got to stay home and make sure that the cook properly cleaned, right? The sous chef properly prepped everything. So that's what I'm talking about an operator. You got to go behind and make sure everything is up to your standard of excellence because it's your vision. It's your baby we're creating here. Okay. Here I have to attribute this to Wikipedia. I got this off of Wikipedia. It's a reason why I like this graph is because it really does describe the startup financing cycle, no matter what business you're in. And a lot of people don't know that when they start a business, you're in the valley of death. You can see my cursor circling around that. And you may get a tornado that may hit you in the valley of death, like a pandemic. Some people are experiencing that right now. Can you imagine if you just started your business, you got $15,000 saved and you were a restaurant and now you can't open? Those things happen, right? So that's why we'll talk about a budget in this case here in a few. What happens is you get out of the valley of death, right? And this is where you've heard 99% of businesses fail, right? Is when you get to break even. You're not losing money, you're not making money, but at least you're at break even. And then all these things up in here, we're not going to discuss tonight in detail. I will cover it in one slide later, are what's called exit strategies, where, well, growth is strategies first, and then you have exit strategies over here, right? And I highlight a business that has done that. You all have heard that's filed their S10, or they want to go to market and the capital markets using an IPO offering on it, initial public offering. Okay, so here's the checklist. Okay, if we're going to start our business, number one, the budget. That's why you didn't hear me talk about a budget. That's the first thing we're going to address. Number two, you need a mentor and advisor. Number three, you need to build a team. Okay, number four, you need an attorney and a bookkeeper, accountant/bookkeeper to be part of that team. I mean, these are essentials. Number six, you need a banking relationship. And then number seven, it wraps up with what I call my sustainability index, the things you need to do to sustain your business. Each one of these 1 through 6 has something that is like a must do. You have to do that to sustain your business. Okay, so next slide here. So this I got off of vertex.com to attribute that to them. This is a great business budget startup sheet. So the first thing first, right? I'm a big Covey nut. Have you guys ever heard of Covey? I mentioned the other class, not many people have. Covey wrote a book. His name is Stephen Covey. It's called 7 Habits of Highly successful or effective people. His second habit, he calls it, right? And most of you know it takes 30 days to develop a habit, right? He called it begin with the end in mind. I mean, first things first is begin with the end in mind. So you got to have a budget so you know what the beginning, the start of it is, right? First habit is being proactive, which we're doing now. We've worked hard. We've saved up $11,000. Say we had another $5,000 in interest, and maybe a friend or family member helped us out, or maybe we got a grant or we got a loan, right? Like even during the pandemic right now, those were certainly available to business owners to stave off their the shutdown of the economy that occurred. So let's say we now up to $15,000. The reason why I like this is because it's easy for this to flow to what's called a balance sheet, which we'll talk about later in the financial statements. Not in depth, but I like this because it talks about you as an investor and the owner one, and if you have another partner or a friend, owner two, and then if you got bank loans, it flows very easily to the balance sheet, right, within your financial statements. Then they give you what's called a fixed costs, right? Advertising for opening, all these other types of things. Again, I like this because it flows to the balance sheet, particularly to your liabilities, whereas the previous one flowed to the assets. Third, you have your average monthly costs, right? So these are sometimes consistent costs, or they may even be one-time charge costs, and they can also fall under what you call variable expenses. Okay. Now let's go to number two. And again, if I'm moving too fast for you, slow me down, ask questions. I had no problem tackling it and going into it because it's important that you grasp these concepts. But if something really, hey, I always wondered about this, I want to answer it for you. Okay, the second most important thing, right? You must do. This is a must. You must get you a mentor or an advisor or a coach who has done what you have done successfully before, because they know the roadmap. They know where the bumps are. They know where, the skeletons are going to be. They just know. So that's why I want to make it important, clear to you guys that all of these are important, but if you don't have a mentor to advise you, you are setting yourself up for failure. You might as well take a match that $15,000 and that hard work you just did. So you want someone that has done what you're trying to do before. Okay, now let's talk about the third thing, building your team. The first team member is you. Okay, so you got to come up with what are you going to be selling, right? Are you going to be selling a product, right? Like, are you going to have a beauty care service or restaurant supply company? You're selling products, not necessarily services. Or are you going to be a hairstylist, right? Now you're buying products from the beauty supply shop and you're providing a service, but there are things you could do within that service where you could package it up and make it a product that you offering that you sell within that service. So that's why you see me have both there. There are three types of business models we can use in that case. Okay. The first business one, as I call the monument to yourself, M2Y. I don't know, I don't have a lot of time to watch TV, but if you've ever seen this show called Bar Rescue, my dear friend John Taffer gave me this term. He's on, it's now called Paramount Network, and he's a very successful entrepreneur. He's considered one of the top bar guys in the world, and that's why they gave him the TV show Bar Rescue. But John calls this build a monument to yourself. In fact, that's what John did with that business. He basically said he got tired of being in the consulting business and having 100 employees going around the world trying to consult people. He just basically shuttered that business. He bought it out actually with a friend of ours. I was one of the consultants in there helping him doing sales consulting. And he said, and some guys approached him, in fact, that had helped start Hell's Kitchen, and they knew John from a previous life, and said, hey, why don't we make you like Gordon Ramsay, but instead of Gordon Ramsay for restaurants, we're gonna make you the bar guy. Because John really is not that kind of hot-tempered guy. They said, that's what you gotta do for the personality for TV. So check John out on, if you get a chance, you need a break, you wanna see an unbelievable entrepreneur who's just a genius in that area, he's great. The second one I call is Everyone Eats, E Squared. And then the third one is pecking order. Okay. So let's go delve into the first one about you, the team member. Okay. And let's say we did a business model called Monument to Yourself, M2Y. Okay. In that case, what I want to do is I want to make sure you understand this is generally a sole proprietorship business. There's no good or bad in it, okay? I'm just giving you the business models, as I like to call them. Because as Professor Houston and I talked last week to the class, we've actually done all three. I actually have done all three, right? All three work in different scenarios. I just want you to understand how you need to operate them so you can understand what you're getting into. Generally, when the funding method is, it is your own money, you do bootstrapping, save money up. You got to either self-fund, like you go cut a couple of yards, you get enough money, you save up, then you open up a shingle out and say, I'm a garden service. You cut a couple of friends' hair, right? Or you style a couple of friends' hair, or you do a couple of girlfriends' nails, right? Or you do massages, and all of a sudden, and you get your certifications to cover those expenses, then you can start that business. That's a sole proprietorship, right? Generally, your side hustle, you can start on the side as a hobby and niche, but you're getting good at it. Now, let's talk about some of the limitations of this type of business model real quick. The limitations of this business model is generally, you generally will only get this business up to about $250,000. It can be more than that, but if you can live a good life with a $15,000 investment that you can turn into $250,000, there's nothing wrong with this business model. Because I don't know how many of you out there, how many of you would take a business that's generating $250,000 right now? Oh, only two hands? Ought to be thinking about it? No, maybe not. Okay, you may like the other one. Yeah, no, not mentioning. Good, Autumn. Let's talk about that. Let's go to the next one. Okay, this is called Everyone Eats. This is generally more of a partnership type of model, right? Again, similar is where the savings, you can self-fund. You can start off by getting a consultant contract, so you could be a sole proprietor at first. Like I did that a couple of years back. I had a contract friend say, hey, I need you to do some consulting. I know you're really good at marketing and doing this platform. Will you do this for me? Sure. How much you gonna pay me? Well, we're thinking about hiring you, but we found out you had a business before, so the contract was equivalent to what my salary been. So okay, fine. But I needed other service providers to help me deliver the services. So now that when I call Everyone Eats, E squared, that's where you do partners or subcontractors. Instead of employees, you get 1099s, right? And you pay people and you 1099 them because you're paying them, and you got to report. They got to report that on their taxes. You've already reported your taxes. Again, this can still function almost like a sole proprietorship, but generally you now have built-in expenses where you have people that are not really full-time employees that you can control. You can hire or fire. You certainly could stop using their services, but right, you could do a JV with another business owner. Like Matt and I could do JVs together. I have my consulting, he has his. My areas in expertise is in marketing consulting. His is in community outreach, interfacing. He also does marketing, right? He can do operations. We decide which role we're going to be, and then we say, hey, let's do a JV. We do it under one umbrella of the company. We can just do a DBA if we want to, and boom, you got a business. Generally, though, you want to be a subject matter expert, and SME, we call it. You generally want 10 years experience. Now, another route to this is you could not necessarily be super experienced, and you could be working at a franchise or working for someone that's licensing, will be willing to license you a business. And you may have 5 years experience, you may have 3 years experience, but you're good enough at it that you can go ahead and you could buy into that business via a JV, or you can just build it on your own, right, using partners. Again, you take your $15,000, you put that up, you generate enough money where now this business does not have much limitation at all, except for if you do an S Corp, which we can talk more about, you're generally limited to 35 investors, right? How many of you ever heard the term S Corporation? Make sure I'm not going too far afield. Okay, great. So that's just basically a tactical report. Yep.
Hey, Sean, we have a question in the chat. On a joint venture, how do people typically pay taxes? Does one person get paid a little more than they, and what's the distribution of responsibility?
That's exactly what the JV is for, Matt. Great point. You can set it up structurally. You can set it up as just a simply a LLC and make it a D, and then make it doing business as, so that you can move the line of revenue and profit and as well as loss under which partner contributes more. So for instance, you and I could do a JV. We could call it ML Enterprises and in group consulting as MLN, right?
Right.
Make it a DBA, get a tax ID number, and let's say you are going to be doing the bulk of it. You will get 60% of the revenue because 60% of the clients are yours, or you put in 60% of the money. I would get 40% of the money. And that's how it works. Great question. I like those. Make sense? So it depends on how you break down the profit, which ties back to the responsibility of what you attribute to who will generate the most revenue.
Right. And also in that breakdown, the distribution is negotiable, right? So
Right,
let's just
absolutely.
say someone may be more cash heavy. They may have cash and they say, well, you know what? I'm going to fund so and so and so and so. But if another person who has the intellectual property or has a skill set and say, well, you know, I'm not rich, but you need me to make this money.
Right.
You can negotiate the percentage of your share, and it doesn't have to be a financial figure.
It does not. It could, like, again, I could have access to so-and-so network and I don't have the capital, but you do. And you say, well, I want 60%. I say, well, I'm willing to do 55, 50, 45. And then that could be the financial arrangement, but there can be other types of additives to offset that 5% that I lose, but Matt would gain because I have the network, I have the access, I have the quote unquote Rolodex.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense? Any more questions on that? Great questions.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's talk about the third business model. I call it pecking order. And this is kind of important because I call it PO too, because you will get pissed off in this one. This is enterprise. This may be what you think about Autumn. This may you want to go big. Go big or go home. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Oh, you like that one too, Vanessa? I see. Okay, I see. Yeah, you like. Okay, so I got you, Marcella Holly. Oh yeah, I remember Holly last week with all the answers. She knew all that. So y'all the big or go home crowd. Oh, all right. Hey, I ain't mad at you. Woman power. Girls gotta do what girls gotta do. Women gotta do what they gotta do. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Kamala, you know, hey, I'm all about that. All about that. Okay, let's talk about this then. But I want to scare you. I want to make it real sober for you. Okay? Because this one is real dangerous. And your $15,000 will disappear real quick, and you'll be left beside the road homeless, broke, and in despair, right? You got to have an unbelievable idea. These are the dependencies. Dependencies mean you have to have these types of things. It has to be a disruptor. And the most important thing is you got to have what's called a TAM. Have anybody heard of a TAM before? Okay, TAM stands for Total Addressable Market. And the dependency is basically what we just described in the JV that Professor Houston was talking about. Now it's bigger. You're giving up equity of your company. You're giving up ownership. And you're giving it to investors who get equity. So they own your company. So you start losing control. And you'll see that. And I have a very interesting slide for you guys on how Airbnb started, where we'll talk about that. So you can see that's big or go home, right? Okay. So, oh, there it is. Surprise, surprise. Okay. Here's how Airbnb started. Okay. This is called an infographic. So I have to attribute it because I did not build this infographic by funders and founders by Anna Vettel at that institution. And they call it infographics because this just shows you a pretty picture of how Airbnb started. Okay. So Joe and Brian, okay, are two guys in San Francisco. First point, two guys. All you big want to go home, young ladies there, which I want you to, okay, because there's some great women entrepreneurs out there too. But understand, let's make it an open book test. Let me give you the answers like Jeopardy before we get to the conclusion. You all have probably heard that 99% of new businesses fail. Well, let me tell you an even starker statistic. Only 0.1 to 0.01, to be honest with you, of minority, Black, brown, or women get venture startup. If you're not a Harvard dropout like Mark Zuckerberg, or if you haven't started one before and been successful, and you're not in Silicon Valley, the chances of you getting funding are 0.01. So as I walk you through the big or go home, you got to be very cognizant of that you have even a less chance than Joe and Brian because you're not part of the majority. You got any questions there? I can't see them, Matt. Okay.
It was a reaction.
No, I was just saying, wow. I was just saying, wow. I didn't realize it was such a small percentage.
Yeah, yes. That's why I want to really scare you guys. It's going to change, but it's going to take time to change, right? A lot of people don't know. It really, and you got to understand this, guess what? Now, who was that speaking? Because I dropped my screen so I can walk you through this.
That was Carolette.
Hey, Carolette.
Hi.
Well, get this, Carolette. Hey. Now, save me some of that chicken salad. Oh, I won't tell my wife. She made me turkey tuna, my favorite dish. Never mind. Okay. Now, here you go. Of that 0.01 that get funding, only 0.001 of them get even to the table, a seat at the table to get funded. In other words, let me give you statistics. So if you had 10,000 companies that are Black, brown, or woman, right, or woman-owned, right, and you're Black or brown, male or female, the chances of you getting funding from what's called a venture fund that is either social impact based or looking for minority-owned startup businesses is 100 of them will get to the table. Of that 100, only one of them will get funding. So that's why I'm not saying you can't do it because it's been done. And and the landscape is changing. But I want to make you aware as you're starting to operate a business, you saved your $15,000. When you get into going big or go home, you got to know what you're dealing with. You really got to be prepared to have the right kind of network, be in the right ecosystem where the community is supporting Black and brown investors and want to make sure. You got to have a mentor and investor who's done that before and want to make sure you succeed and have an appetite for the idiosyncrasies of where you may not be as skilled in this area. So it's changing. It's getting better, by the way. A great company to look up is called Harlem Renaissance Venture Capital Group out in Harlem. Young bunch of brothers from Harvard put together their own funding. It's taken them about 5 years now where they just got their fund up to, I think, 50 million.
Yep.
And they got, was it 50 or 100? I can't remember.
I think when I was there, I interacted with them when it was at the 50 million mark. I think that was last year.
Yeah.
We're doing some work with them with the chamber, the Dallas Black Chamber.
Oh, great. Yeah. See, and they will know others. There are others. And a lot of like Magic Johnson is starting to get more involved, particularly since the pandemic. That's the great news. The great news now, if you do want to do this is the great time to do it, though, because of the social unrest that's going on. So let's go through this quickly so I can get on to the meat of it. So real quick, Joe and Brian couldn't pay the rent, right? So they think maybe if we rent out these air mattresses, because we don't have enough money to pay our rent, but we got enough money to buy some air mattresses. Why don't we rent it out? So they just make a simple website, right? It's called airbedandbreakfast.com with blog and the maps. 2 men, 1 woman showed up. They got $80 each. Got enough to cover their rent, right? So there's a great starter business. Then after that, they say, oh, we think this would be a good idea. TAM, total addressable market, big idea, disruptive. What I mean by that, everybody in the world, if I had a website and I could get you to come to my website to rent out your home, or if you were traveling instead of staying in a hotel for a nominal price, pay a fee on our site, then I have an unbelievable, huge market, right? That's like everybody in the world, even if it's your apartment, right? So that's a TAM. So they went back and they found Nathan, and they made Nathan a co-founder who was their old roommate, because he's really good at websites. It's not just a cheap website. They only got 2 books at South by Southwest. Then a friend of his, mentor, advisor, coach, told Brian, hey, I hope this is not the only idea you're thinking. So Brian got really creative. This is like an idea that if you want to get out of debt, that's why I like what Javon did, because it makes you think about that, right? So now he sold $40 of Obama old cereal, and he made $30,000. Then they got $20,000 funding from what's called an incubator. And that's why I'm saying now is the best time to do it, because greatly for us, right? Black and brown is back in style. Women are in style now after what's happened with the Breonna Taylors of the world, and again, unfortunately, the George Floyds of the world. Ahmaud Arbery, and we can go on and on about that. But it actually does help us with this type, because now you have a lot of incubators. An incubator is basically an advisor. They take a piece of your company, but they have successfully started done a startup, made a bunch of money, and now they're just taking their money and hoping that one of you will do well. So that's what an incubator is. An accelerator is after you graduate from incubator, they help you accelerate your business to the next level. Okay. So they didn't get an accelerator. They just took that 20,000 plus 30,000. So we started at 15. They doubled that money to 30. Now we got 20. Now we got 50,000. So we're not growing though. We throw up a website. We realize they're not pretty. Okay, so we go door to make them prettier. 1 week later, now we're growing. Now we go from $200 a week to $400 a week. We double our money. Then we go to a VC, a venture capitalist, a professional investor, someone who's made a whole bunch of money, started several companies, and they got all of their rich friends to put in money. And generally these, what they call is a seed round. Give me some initial seed money so I can really grow this thing, get more real employees to help me, so I can build my team out. I can go from 1 to 10 to 35 to 50 to 250 employees. Now you're going big or go home, right? So they got rejected. So again, even though they're male Caucasians, they got rejected by this famous VC named Fred Wilson. But then they got a break. And this will happen for us too, right? If we do the next 4 principles I'm gonna go over with you. They got their actual Barry Manilow, famous singer, way before my time even. Not too much, but before my time. So I don't know about anybody else's time on the Zoom call tonight. He rented their entire house, totally changed their business model. They realized that they needed to start renting out all of the houses. Then they got their first seed round that was about $600,000. And then by 2014, so it took them 7 years from here to here to get a valuation of $10 billion and raise $112 million. Now it's greater than that, of course, and they're about to go public. Okay, any questions so far on that one? Because I want to get out of this and get to so I wanted you just to be sober. I'm not trying to scare you guys, but I want you to be sober about when you go down this road, you really have to be committed. And you want to use every resource you have. Get grants, get loans, go to incubators. Professor Houston knows all of this because he actually did this successfully with a team of his. He knows what it's like. He could tell you, you come in one day and you got to go, okay, we got to do this just to cover payroll, right, man? It gets a little scary sometimes.
Oh, yeah, I have war stories.
Oh, yeah, I know you do. So do I. Okay, so the only reason I brought this back up again is to show you these are now the different exit strategies, because the industry has just boomed. The VC business has got super angels now. You have corporate VC funds. corporations like Intel will buy you out real quick, right? Depending upon what kind of business it is. I'm surprised that Airbnb didn't get taken out quickly. Oculus did get taken out by Facebook. So there's what's called acqui-hires, where you go and hire somebody who's already scaled a business and you give them a portion and pay them really well. But these are all exit strategies. And then the unicorn, of course, are the Airbnbs, okay? So you're way beyond the valley of death, right? You're way out of early stage, you're now into what's the later stage. Okay, let's get to this one real quick. So only reason I brought this up is underneath here, and Professor Houston will provide you the slide. This is up top. This is how Airbnb started. This is the top, but underneath is the pie. And this is kind of what we're going to go into down here, but make it even simpler than this splitting of the pie, right? There's that number, 15,000. Then he found the co-founder. Okay, so you had Joe and Brian, and then they went and got Nathan, right? Then they never got their $200,000 till really late. They got $600,000, remember? That's how tough it was for them. And then they got out of the seed round. Underneath here, it talks about how, well, let me go up top here. See what says 100% of nothing is a lot less than 17% of a big company. I mentioned to you that earlier, what your value is and your dependency is outside investors. You have to give up control of your company. You give away control. So you start with 100% of nothing. You get friends and family to invest. Then you get professional investors, VCs. They give you $2 million at a $4 million valuation. Then you keep getting, but each time you're giving up, you go from 100% to 17. So you gave up 83% of your company, but you own 17% of a $2.6 billion company. That ain't bad. Any questions? Great, let's move on. Okay, number 4 and number 5. These are probably the two most important things. How you operate your business, no matter which one you have, whether it's a sole proprietorship or whether it's sole proprietorship, whether it's JV and you have just subcontractors, right? Or it's just you and you're just using subcontractors and you're doing a very slow and grow business model. You buy a franchise or you do a licensing agreement. You got to have an operational infrastructure. Well, what is that? That's an attorney where they give you what's called basically an operating agreement, right? First, they'll tell you what's the best type of capital reporting structure. LLC, right? Limited liability corporation. So that $15,000 you put into that company, that's the only thing that you're liable for. So if somebody tries to come and sue you and you happen to have $1 million already, they can't touch the million. They can only touch 15 million. I mean, only touch the 15,000 that you put at risk. Okay, S Corp, C Corp. And then, of course, you have what's called a federal tax and state tax reporting. We can get into that a little bit more if you want, but the attorney would help you with that, as well as the accountant and bookkeeper. But operating agreement is very important. How you operate in the state, it determines what we talked about earlier in the JV. Now you really are formalizing your business where you determine who owns what when you are in and have real employees. If you do go up to a JV where you say, hey, I don't want to be 1099 anymore. I don't want to subcontract. I want to hire you inside. I don't want you to be my outside attorney. They call it outside counsel. I want you to be inside. I got enough money. I'm making $500,000 a year, or I got the business up to $1 million. I need an inside attorney. Okay, you're going to pay me $200,000 a year plus bonuses and profit share? Sure, I'll do that. That still leaves me, if I'm at $1 million, that still leaves me $800,000. That's what that is. And then business credit, I didn't get into, but this is really important because you can separate your personal credit from your business credit. But we're not going to get into that right now because I think Devon did a good enough job saying why you got to have good credit. And we saved up money, we got out of debt, we paid our credit cards down, we cleaned up our credit. So we handle this. This is for more in depth, really. But I put it there because it is important. It's how you establish your business where you do business in a business-like manner. Let's talk about number 5. Okay. Now your financial infrastructure. This is where a lot of companies blow it. They do not get a bookkeeper just to get basic financial controls. What is that? You get someone that knows how to get you a bookkeeping software. QuickBooks, not Quicken, QuickBooks. QuickBooks Online, inexpensive, great software. Xero, right? There's another one out there that's up and coming, doing real well. And you get your chart of accounts. What is that? That's the list of all of your expenses as well as your income. And that's how they track it, that so it can flow to your financial statements, right? So now you talk about capital management, right? Or, well, I skip this, tax ID or employee identification number, EIN. That's just the social security number of the business. That's how the business is tax identified. Are you guys familiar with this? Am I going too much and you already know this stuff? Anybody shake your hand? Jessica, help me out. Am I going too fast? Are you good? Autumn, you like this? Is it too low level? Okay, Carolette, okay, I like it. Okay, I'm just checking. Let me see, go down here real quick. Where's Holly and where's Jeanette? Oh, you already know this stuff, Holly, probably. Yeah. I know. You already know. Marcella, how about you? Okay. I'm just checking. Hey, there's little Marcella. Hey. All right, let's do this. Let me tell you why financial statements are so important. Now we get back into budgeting, but you have a capital allocation model. It's just a fancy word of saying how you, as the CEO of your business, believe you should invest the money that you've made, right? We're out of break even now. We're out of the valley of death. Let's say we've done a great business where we started off as a hairstylist, or we started off as a gardening service, and now we have trucks, we have 100 employees, we own a building, right? We're now a C Corp. I have, major corporations that I do the gardening service for, or I was a hairstylist, now I own the building where I rent out to other hairstylists, and I even hired some hairstylists to work for me, and I have created a special brand of hairstyling, or I created a special product to make your hair like great, right? Or special makeup. Now, this is where you are truly CEO, where vision and strategy is important because you determine, hey, should I have invested? Does it take out of my $1 million? Does it take 10% of that, $100,000 to create that makeup product? But can I resell that product and make my money back? That's capital allocation model. You start looking at your money differently. How am I going to invest it in the future? But you won't be able to do that unless you have a capital budget, because you got to at least keep the lights on. You got to make sure your people get paid. And most importantly, I kind of skipped this, you got to make sure you get paid. The number one thing you must do, I was taught this wrongly, okay? I learned this one the hard way. Let me tell you. Pay yourself first, okay? You set this up so you make sure you get paid first. I didn't do this. People say, oh no, you got to always pay your employees. Well, I came on one day with my lovely wife, and I saw that eviction notice out because I paid all my employees. I had nothing left. But the account, in fact, I'll be somewhat transparent here, was the NFL. Won a great account with the NFL. It was only $1,000 request for proposal, RFP. But we were so good at what we did in marketing consulting for them that we got it all the way up to $90,000. But they said they were going to pay us in 60 days. Well, guess what? Day 90, they still hadn't paid us, and I had spent all this money. I had like $50,000 in the bank, but now I got like 1,000 after I paid all my employees. I can't pay my rent with $1,000 now. This was in South Florida, when we lived in South Florida at the time. I'm like, oh my God, what am I gonna do? I was like, I called NFL up, boy, I was like, don't let me get on you. But let's just say the check came the next day. I was very happy, right? So was my wife. But I learned from that experience in my capital allocation model. I got to always have a reserve where I can pay myself and my employees and my rent. That's a capital allocation with a capital budget. And you can Google this more and it gets more into specifics of what that looks like, right? When you get into that, how you use your cash flows and things like that. But this is the most important one, no matter what business you have, whether it's the PO business model or the enterprise one where you're going to be Airbnb, or you're going to just be a sole proprietor, right? Or monument to yourself business. Cash burn and runway. Have you all heard that term before? Okay, let's talk about cash burn real quick. Cash burn is how much money do I have until I get to zero? So we take that $15,000, and if it takes us $1,000 a month, remember the budget originally? I put back 15,000 in. I have fixed expenses. Let's say that was only 5,000. So I got $10,000 left. So at $10,000 left, but let's say remember the average monthly expenses are $1,000. and I'm gonna have some savings in that, right? Let's say I save 100, but in 10 months, I'm gonna be out of money if I generate no money. I'm gonna be in the valley of death and I'm gonna die, right? I got 5,000 I spent up front to get the business going from my 15, from all of our hard-earned 15. Then each month I got 1,000, but I only save 100. So in 10 months, I'm gonna run out of business. All I'm gonna have in 10 months is I'm gonna have just $1,000 left. Sounds familiar? Remember I told you I had only 1,000 left after that? That's what I tell you. This is real world. That's what cash burn is. Know when you're gonna run out of money so that you can have some form of funding. The most important time, this, I want you all to write this down. The best time to get money, okay, whether it's from a bank, from a friend, is when you don't need it. I'm serious. I don't care who you get money when you don't need it. Because when you need it and you got to get it, you got what I love the way my wife puts it. You got to stink on you. And people can hear that. I don't know if I want it. You won't get my money back. The bank gonna be looking at you, your friend, even aunt, even uncle Charlie. Oh no, mom. Oh yeah, that's what I'm trying to tell you. So that's what funding round is about. Okay, you want to make sure you at month 6, when you're 6 months out, I better get me some more. I better find another $10,000. I may have to do like Airbnb guy did. I may have to go and sell me some cereals. Or if I'm cutting hair, I got to increase the number of people hair I'm cutting. Or if I'm cutting yards, I got to increase the number of yards. I got to just find a way to increase my revenue. Even if I got to work overtime, or I got to take another job. I got to do 2 or 3 jobs just to keep my business running. Don't be afraid of doing that, guys. And I tell you, the earlier the better. If it's at month 8, if we say, hey, I want to make sure that by month 6, I got another 10 grand. So I'm not out of money. That's what cash burn is. You can Google it. It's a very simple calculation, but I kind of gave you the gist of it. Any questions? Okay. Here's 6, and I think I should be hitting my time now. The banking relationship, okay? This is very important too. You want to establish, the reason I gave you 4 and 5 is that you need an operating agreement to open a bank account, okay, when you start your business. You have to have it, right? You have to be registered with the state, right? Some states require you to file an operating agreement, and you got to be an LLC. That's why you got to go to attorney. The bookkeeper is for you and the bank. It tells you how you're going to be spending your money. If the bank sees you are going to establish a commercial account, that's what I'm talking about, a bank account. I'm talking about not a personal account, a commercial account. Commercial accounts are classified differently. But all banks care about one thing, they care about deposits. So you got to know the characteristic of your bank. You want to get not necessarily a wealth bank like Comerica. A lot of people don't know Comerica started in Detroit. It was the Ford was their primary bank, the Ford Motor Company. Mr. Ford basically helped start that bank, right? You don't want to necessarily go to a wealth bank because they only want people that of means. Community bank is great to start off with. Man, you mentioned one that last week. I couldn't think of one locally here that's a good community bank to start a banking relationship with.
American National Bank, which is Oakland. There's like it's based in Terrell. It started out as an oil and gas bank, but
there you go.
They didn't go national. Most of their reserves in the North Texas region.
Yeah, exactly. You can go in, you can meet the president. They get to know you. You start making the deposits. You develop a real relationship early on because you want to determine what they care about. They care about deposits, but they also, when it gets to when you need a loan, we monitor you want to get a loan. We cleaned up our credit. Our credit score was maybe 480. Now we got it up to 620, just barely enough. But they see you making deposits. They see you can give them the financial statements from your bookkeeper. They see you file with the state Secretary of State at the Texas. And then you've been making deposits regularly and you never let your bank go in the red. You keep a good, healthy deposit level up. Let's say your watermark, we call it, is no more than your your commercial account at $1,000 and you just don't let anybody do anything. They'll go, oh, we'll overlook your personal credit even if it's at 590. Oh, we see you got good sales going. And you just put in enough. Remember I gave you the example of, let's say in month 6, you got to cut more hair. You got to go drive Uber. You got whatever you got to do, you put that another 10 grand in the bank, they'll see that. And then if you need to get a loan and say, hey, I'm concerned that, my run rate right now is saying that in 10 months, I can go below my watermark and I like to always have a $5,000 reserve. Could I get just a line of credit for, say, even 2,500? And then if I don't pull down on that in 3 months, can I take it up to $5,000? And then if I don't pull down on that in another 3 months, I'm doing it in 3 months increment because now you got that 9th month. Can we up it to 10,000? Now you got money when you don't need it. So you don't have to worry like I did where I'm down to $1,000 and I can't go to the bank, right? I can't get a line of credit. It's like, Mr. Lewis, you overdrew your account. Well, I had to because I had to pay these bills because the NFL promised me this money, which I did get the next day, by the way. But fortunately, I actually did have a relationship with the bank, but they wouldn't give me a line of credit, but they let me overdraw my account. So that's what I'm trying to tell you. You want to establish it. These other titles up here are called RBOC, is regional bank. That's like a regions bank. They're in certain regions. And then the international bank is like HSBC. You only want to go to them after you've established a relationship with a community bank. And then let's say you want to be import export. Then you want to do something like HSBC or Deutsche Bank. They can be crooked. You got to watch Deutsche Bank. Yeah. So, I'm sorry. And so that's how you establish a relationship. The other thing you can do, there are other alternative financing. There is, okay, I'm going 4 minutes over. I'm going to shut it out here. There's other sources. You already heard me talk about incubators and grants. There's another thing called a CDFI, Community Development Investment, Community Development Fund. I can't believe I'm blanking. Community Development Financing Institution. That is part of the Federal Reserve, where they're in the community. They're called a non-traditional financer. They're not a bank, so they can be much more lax in their credit ratings, and you can get money from them, but it comes in the form of a loan. Generally it's a low interest loan, and administrated by the SBA. You heard me mention angels. Of course, there's friends and families, and there's even like what we do. My partner Javon, you can use products from our investment services, particularly insurance, where you can use alternative means of financing. But again, that takes time to use. And then there's SBIC, that Small Business Investment Community. That is more like not an angel investor, but they were designed for the minority or underserved communities, where the SBA guarantees them X amount of money by giving them the money, and then I don't want to get too complex, but they give them the money and give them a low interest rate to invest in other companies. So, and at the end of the day, I ended on this, and I said, these are the 7 things you must do to sustain your business. And again, operating agreement, got to keep it current. It determines what you own, how you own it. Business credit is very important because you separate your business from your personal, but we didn't talk about that much. And then the cash burn, you heard me preach to you about that. And of course, within that, cash burn is saying you got a budget. All right, I'm done.
Wow.
Any questions?
Sean, great job, Chief. Great job. Thank you again. Are there any questions?
I have one question.
Great.
Mm-hmm.
So let's just say we're starting off, right? So as like with a DBA, right? It's a lot cheaper just to get a DBA.
Very good.
And then
yes,
you want to, I'm sorry?
Very good. I was just complimenting you on that.
Mm-hmm. And then if you decide that you want to get an LLC, which I think in Texas, it's around like with tax and stuff, like around $310, $311, something like that.
Yeah, about
$350.
Yeah. And so if you let's just say if I have like Holly Edwards doing business as PIN company or whatever, and then once I start generating income with that, and I get my IT number and everything, and I want to get an LLC, could I like transfer that and then get like, or is it like completely separate IT numbers and like, you know what I'm saying? Like, is it just completely separate, or could I like transfer? I don't know if that's the right, you see what I'm trying to say?
No, I know exactly where you're going. I know Professor Houston and I both know. I'll answer and then, but I have to be a disclaimer. I have to give you a disclaimer. I am not attorney.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
that's number 1. I am not an accountant, number 2.
Okay.
But I am a financial service professional. Number 3, I have to disclose that to you. I have my insurance license. I'm actually going to be going for my security license the next couple of months. So I have to disclose that to you, right? To let you know that I have enough to know, but technically you're asking accounting and you're asking legal and accounting questions. So
Okay.
you need to check with your tax advisor and your legal counsel to confirm what I'm about to tell you from a practical perspective. And it's on a recording, Holly, so don't come back and say,
Yeah,
hey,
no, you're good.
I'm messing with you, I'm messing.
He's covering all the potential
You know what I'm
lawsuits.
saying? Well, I got an LLC anyway, so I ain't worried about it. But anyway, okay, here's how you do it practically. Okay, so here's the real deal. That's a great idea. I love it. I wish somebody would have taught me that before I got into business. I'm being honest with you. Get yourself a DBA and get if you can, right, get some banks will let you do this. They'll let you do a DBA and give you a commercial account without having an operating agreement. Okay?
Yep.
If they don't, just make it a regular personal account, but segregate that account. Keep it pure business. Only do business transactions. And even if you can't afford QuickBooks, which you should be able to online, do all your transactions with QuickBooks. It's really easy online. Get enough money up.
That's what I
exactly.
use.
That's what I use. Right?
I have multiple businesses
Same.
too.
Exactly.
Mhm.
QuickBooks is great. I would strongly encourage you to use QuickBooks online. It's really inexpensive. And all these expenses I'm telling you to do, you get the receipts and get enough money up so you can get a bookkeeper to help you do it right. Right? But if you can't afford a bookkeeper right now, it's easy to do a chart of accounts, watch a couple of seminars on YouTube or whatever, and just make sure you track every expense in that software for that DBA in that personal account if the bank doesn't let you do a commercial account at first. And you're going to use your personal social security number for that account. That becomes the EIN number, okay? Is your social security number. And then when you file taxes, okay, but you need to check with your tax advisor.
I know. Look, I'm writing it down, but I know. Check, you're not liable.
You will do what's called a Schedule C on a 1020 long form so that every expense I just gave you is totally deductible. You can reduce it off your tax deductible expense. Then at that point, your bookkeeper or your attorney, after you have enough money saved up, right, to hire that attorney or that bookkeeper or get one that does subscription based, but like not like Zoom, legal Zoom, but like Rocket Lawyer, where they'll refer you to someone who will give you a good price, or Professor Houston may know a couple that'll give you a good price and work with you, right? Then they will tell you, okay, this is what your operating is going to look like, where you can now go get an LLC and then get an EIN number for that business. And you
Which
can
would be
make
another
it
$1,000.
right. This is about $1,000 exactly. And now that DBA becomes that LLC, and that's just then you got to file that with the Secretary of State of Texas. You can maintain the DBA, but it becomes an LLC. It now goes from your personal social security number to a true living entity. A lot of people don't understand that businesses. People were beating up Mitt Romney about this years ago, but businesses really are living entities. That's why we're such a litigious society in America, because we're a capitalist society. Businesses are really true legal entities. People will treat your business separately than they treat you if you do it right. You literally can set up a business and have horrible credit, but if you set up business credit, which is easy to manage, you can have great business credit. I did it with my business. I had unbelievable business credit. I could go, anybody can go get a trade line with somebody where they would give me 90, 100 days to trade with them because I paid my bills and when it came to my business. But my personal credit at that time, I jacked it up trying to keep the business afloat. This will keep you from doing that. Great question.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Not liable, but thank you.
Not liable.
Nor is Professor Houston.
No,
Professor Houston.
I have a question.
Great, sure. Marcella, no, pronounce it for me so I get it right.
Maricela.
Maricela, I love that.
Yeah. So I have a question. You were talking earlier about cash burn, and you were talking about you need to figure out how much you have left to get to zero.
Yes.
When you start realizing that you're getting real close to that zero mark, when do you know to pull out so you don't hit bankruptcy?
Great question. Oh, unbelievable question. Okay. Again, I'm gonna get not too complex for it, but it's kind of a common sense answer. When you are about to hit the point where basically you can't afford to do the business anymore. You just stop doing business. You shut it down. Like in other words, if it causes harm to you, will you not be able to sleep at night? Will it cost you to not be able to pay your other bills that you need just your own livelihood? Could you not put food on the table, right? So you use that watermark. So for instance, let me give you an example. Let's say my monthly expense, right, is $10,000. Okay. So if I have $100,000, it's simple. In 10 months, I'm gonna be out of money, right? It's very simple common sense, right? But if I need to make sure that I'm a firm believer in taking care of my family, I got to provide roof for me and my wife. I got to provide food, and of that $10,000, right? And if I have to pay my car note, right? Let's say of that $10,000, that's $5,000. So at $5,000, if I'm below $5,000, right, in month 6, even though I projected my cash burn is going to be month 10, you don't take and allocate that $5,000 and put it to save your business. You stop the business and you go find new money to make up that shortfall that you're going to have, that other $5,000, right? Now, I may take a hit on my credit unless I back it back, and I don't want to even get to that close. It's like, where is your watermark going to be? Do I want to jack up my credit? So if I'm 9 months out and I see that, yeah, if I can hold my breath, as we say in the entrepreneurship world, and make it and find somebody to help me out or bail me out, or do I want to just say no? I see in 9 months, well, really it's 7 months, right, at the 9-month part. I only got 7 months to go, and I can't cover my 10 grand nut, we call it, right? I can't cover my 10 grand. I'm stopping this bad boy. I'm gonna put it on hold, and I'm gonna go get a job or whatever. So it's kind of common sense. You got to look at your timeline. What's your run rate? Does that make more sense, Marcella?
It does. It was just like earlier we were talking about getting loans. So I was thinking at first, when you start running short, you go get another loan and then you build on that and then you get another one because you're so committed and so invested into your own organization or your business that you don't want to fall short. And I get it. A lot of business nowadays, because of COVID, definitely took the, hey, I'm going to shut it down because of COVID. But what if it wasn't COVID and you want to, I know that Professor Houston was talking about he's operated a couple of businesses. So I was more like, when do you know when to stop? But I'm going to try this again or something to that extent.
So I want to add something real quick, Sean, for you. You asked, Marcella, a great question. And that's something that entrepreneurs struggle with daily. And to be honest with you, there is a textbook answer and then there is an actual answer. The textbook, in which the goal is to make sure your textbook and your actual answer are the same, but both can also exist. And it doesn't mean that they're wrong. So the textbook answer is exactly what Sean said, right? Figure out and my dad used to call this, figure out your trigger points. What's the amount of money that will cause you to, he used to call it getting the yellow zone. So where there's a yellow light to where you have to start watching your spending. And then what's the absolute red line that will make you say, look, I have to stop or I have to adjust something. In theory, creating a business plan helps you mitigate that confusion and that's why I want you all to focus on one of the 4 sections of your financial section, and that you can discuss burn rates there. Like the reason why you know how much your product should cost to produce is so that you can know how much money you need to save. Because you also need to know how many products you need to make so you can make a profit. So knowing that essential value, how much will one widget cost to produce? And then knowing, well, how many do I, deciding how many widgets do I want to produce this year will give you the amount of money you will need to build your business, to start, at least start your business. Now that doesn't account for other costs like rent, power, things of that nature. If you're really into this thing, you can include all of your fixed costs, your variable costs, and have it in one number, like per unit number. And that's typically where you want to go so that you can have a good guide map. Now, that's the theoretical side. Now, when you're practicing, things happen, right? COVID happens, or even things like an unexpected, you put the wrong toner in your printer and you have to pay extra $2,000 to drain the toner out of the printer and refill the printer up. But you need the toner so that you can create your widget. Those things happen, which will deviate your theoretical number in operation, your burn rate with your practical. So if it was at 10 months, now maybe that burn rate is after month one is at like 8.5 months.
Right, exactly.
And so you have to kind of just, as an entrepreneur, you have to know what you thought of and what you planned, but you have to have enough flexibility to ride the storm. And what that does is it allows you to prevent always having to go to a bank for loans and things of that nature. Because what you don't want to do is undershoot or inaccurately request money that you may need. Because if you keep asking people for money, the bankers or your investors will think, oh, you didn't do a good job with your financial model. Why should I give you any more money? So the business plan is really important to focus on the business plan so that you can have an effective guideline. One of my old finance professors always said garbage in, garbage out. Garbage in, meaning everything that you input in a statistical formula is going to come right back at you based on whatever formulas you write. So if you put in bad data, you'll receive a bad output. If you put in great data, then you'll receive accurate data so that you can make great decisions. And that's how it is with your business as well.
The only thing I wanted to add to Professor Houston, he's so spot on. It's just simply this. Find a way to justify, and this is what capital allocation is all about, to create a product or a project that gives you some form of revenue, right, to cover that shortfall. Know your numbers, so know what your shortfall is. That's why I use my number of, say, 10 and 5 is my number. But I may not go to the bank. What I may do is I may go take up a short-term contract, or I may take up a job plus, and now you're being a real, Matt, be full transparent. When we were working on a project together, I was building a fintech app, and I didn't get traction from it. But at the time, I had plenty of money in the bank. I had well over 6 figures, but I didn't want to touch that, right? Because I've been where I had no money before. I gave you that experience with the NFL. So guess what I did? I took it at night and I started driving Uber. So I wouldn't touch that money. So I created a new revenue stream. So that's the only thing I want to add to it, is that instead of a loan, try to think of a new revenue stream or short-term revenue stream to cover that shortfall you have.
And I remember when that happened, Sean told me, and when he told me, I understood. You know why? Because I've been an Uber driver before too. Like when I started a business, I literally, and that's when I bought the Honda Accord, because, and I made a decision. I think I hit one of my threshold. I hit my yellow number. I had money in other investment things, but I didn't feel like taking it out, or I couldn't take it out. I was in the middle of a 5-year business deal where my money was locked. So I couldn't take it out without a huge penalty. So my choice was I bought a cash car and then I drove for Uber for a year or so,
Yeah.
just on the side. And what I did, what that also helped me with on my consulting deal was allowed me to empathize with the Uber driver. So
Right.
I knew the head of Uber Texas. So
Right,
I was able to parlay that to do a consulting gig to tell him how an Uber driver experience was. Like, that's how you figure out ways to be creative.
Right. Instead of just running to the bank and getting a loan, and then they start looking at you going, I don't know if I should keep giving you money. Now, I hope that really helped you out.
I have a question. So as a person of color, what do you would say is would be the safest way to apply for a loan? I feel like discrimination is pretty heavy with banks when trying to apply for one. And a lot of it's kind of like horror stories I kind of get, from people who look like me having to fight banks to get money for them, and including, with businesses, like it's hard for people, like you said, it's really hard they don't get a lot of money. So it's like, if you don't have any other options and nobody's giving you any other options, what would you say is the safest way for somebody of color to apply for loans? Technically, you probably already answered it, but
That's a great question. And let me take a quick stab at this because I had direct, that was something I was doing today. One thing that entrepreneurs don't know, I don't want to say don't know, but one thing that in an entrepreneurial ecosystem that is built, the union version of entrepreneurs are chambers of commerce or some type of business league that can advocate for a group of entrepreneurs. Why do I say that? Well, the banks have historic predatory lending practices for people of color, for people that's not of a certain status, right? Women, people of color, things of that nature. There have been lawsuits with that because there have been larger entities who represented groups of entrepreneurs or groups of people or groups of businesses to fight that battle. And what happens is, instead of a single person fighting a banking industry, which more than likely you will always fail because you just don't have the resources, they could just outsue you or out litigate you until you're broke. But if you work with a group of 1,000 business owners and then y'all hire one attorney to go against that, settlements start happening. That's when this CRA lawsuits start trickling down in the 90s and 2000s to force banks to create programs to lend to women, lend to people of color. But they don't do that. They don't give checks to individual businesses. What they typically do is give it to an advocacy organization to manage it. So it's really important to know, you don't have to be members of, but just know types of programs that, let's just say, sponsored by a bank. Like Comerica may sponsor some type of financial thing on by the deck at Redbird, or someone at the Treehouse was able to get a banker from who focuses on entrepreneurial lending to the space, so that they can meet that demographic. They can meet those people so that they can build a relationship. It's not easy. I'm not saying because I'm rambling. It's not that it's not easy. It's that it's a certain way you have to approach it. And most people think, I need money. I'm gonna go to the bank and I'm gonna fight the bank. Well, you can try that. Good luck with that. But I want to show you there are other routes that people can do that's not hostile. And the reason why I say I dealt with that today is because BBVA just gave my state organization $75,000 to start to provide loans to micro business loans to 10 cities in the state of Texas that are owned by African Americans. And so those are the types of things that happens. And so now I'm tasked with promoting and ensuring that there's an effective dissemination of this application so that those businesses can benefit.
The other thing I would just add to it, going back to the textbook actual experience, is that know your numbers, right? Know your credit score. So go to each credit company, be willing to pay the money to just get your credit score from each one individually, not all three. Let me tell you why. Each credit company, TransUnion, Equifax, and Experian has a different weighting system, right? They each have their own individual ones. And something that's on one credit score may not be on the other. And the bank that you're going to may not use the one that has your higher score. That's number one in a very practical way. Number two is know how much debt you do have based on those credit scores, because there is the second most important thing to the underwriter, and that is DTI, debt to income ratio. That's the two biggest weightings. How often you pay your bills on time according to the scoring credit scoring system that they use, and then DTI, debt to income ratio, right? And then be willing to go and establish a relationship with like a BBVA that has an SBA program. And then Professor Houston already telling you there's some money that different organizations being provided for. So you go to like a black chamber, or you go to a local chamber, a regional chamber, like the Dallas Chamber, and they're looking for women of color to help start them. Get your mentor to help you build your portfolio and meet the banker before you even give them your information, and find out what they care about them. Believe it or not, it still is old school. As much as we like social media, right? Like even today, I mean, just because I have a relationship with Professor Houston is why I'm here. It is goes back to relationship. Be willing to establish a relationship, and that's what I was saying in slide number 6, Autumn. So do the pre-work first, right? Do the pre um, applying for a loan first, and find out if the bank is the right bank for you. And let me tell you another great source: credit unions. They're
Yeah.
really lenient, right? Because what the banks or credit unions need they need deposits so they can loan out money to their best customers. So
Yep.
know that is your textbook answer of what you have in your back pocket. They need me to put a deposit in here, and they're gonna want my business deposit eventually. So let me start establish a relationship, but get a friend, right? Friend up, as one of my friends calls it, where I have like Professor Houston can tell me maybe you should go to the Black Chamber, right? And do this, this, and this. Go see this person. Talk to this person first, but know your credit numbers first. Know your real what it says is what your debt and income is. So know your numbers, so you can explain and speak to it, and they'll tell you, oh, okay, well maybe we should do this, maybe we should do that, and have like let's talk over coffee or something, at their desk or whatever. But be relational.
It's great.
Professor Houston, can I make one comment?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I think someone else said something.
I think you were there was a reverb.
Oh, okay. Um, just one comment, just as for Autumn. So it's funny we're talking about Comerica. I actually used to be a personal banker at Comerica. So I was thinking, just as far as what she was talking about with like, getting loans, and then kind of tied into what Mr. Lewis was saying. What do you think about like flirting with different banks to kind of see, like I were talking about which bank would be the best for you, or bank or credit union, whatever would be best for you. And then once you do, commit, like, okay, I think this bank is or whatever is the right one for me. Then what do you think about opening up like a really small, like personal account, and then starting to like, y'all were talking about building a personal relationship with like a particular like banker and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was a personal banker at Comerica, you know, y'all are right. That's the main thing that they're looking at is deposits and everything. And then building and growing relationships. And so like, for instance, I've had people come to me with like personal accounts, and we used to be talking, chit chat and whatever, and then eventually and I know them by name and everything, and I know their deposits. And then eventually, I learn about, oh, hey, yeah, they're thinking about opening up a business. I'm like, oh, okay. And so they, typically keep everything within the same bank.
Mhm.
And then it's kind of like a smooth like process and everything. And then I've also seen people get like not get approved for like certain types of like lines of credits and things like that. And then I would bring it to like my my branch manager, and then I would talk to them about it. We would look at the deposits and like the relationship like I were talking about. And then the branch manager would actually go back in and then call like the underwriters and everything, and then they would get it approved. And so what do you think? Do you suggest that, because I'm not a professional, y'all are, but would y'all suggest like flirting with different banks to kind of see which bank will be the best, and then kind of get a small personal account there, just to kind of like just to establish a relationship with that, and then also with a personal banker, and then everybody within that one branch, and then move on to what I mean, the business account, and then trying to get a business loan? What do y'all feel about that?
I would think that's a great idea, Holly. I think, and you being a personal banker at Comerica, you just described why it is. But what I would do in addition to that, and I'll definitely let Professor Houston speak to this also, is that when you establish the account, tell them up front, right? Like I like to say, make an open book test. I'm really testing you out, right? To
Exactly.
see if I want you to, if I'm gonna let you put a ring on it, right? Yeah, I'm gonna be dating. I'm gonna tell you that right now. We ain't gonna be exclusive. And you know why? Because can you give me other people that look like me that have you given a loan to? Can you introduce me to others? Right? Then you'll know what's going on, and they'll know. Hands are on the table here, and they'll know they're competing for your business. So you kind of keep them on their toes, and that's what I like to do with my bank. I have several banking relationships, right? For years I took my money away from Bank of America. I'm like, I ain't gonna keep my money with
Yeah,
y'all no more.
same here. And I'm actually about to shift my money
Yeah,
because every bank has different packages. Now they're probably similar, but based on what your needs are, based on what threshold, what pain points you may have, it may be worth always being flexible, because they're flexible with you. And this is another thing about banks, and this is my personal opinion. This is not reflecting University of Texas Dallas or things of that nature, but depositors get less return from your money than the banks do.
yeah, yes they do.
The banks make so much money on your money,
Oh,
and so they're getting what they need. You shouldn't feel obligated or feel beholden or feel loyal to one particular branch because they're not being loyal to you, because they're not giving you an equitable return on what you're making.
Yeah, I have
That's just
three.
my
I have at least. I always keep three banks. To be honest with you, I have a bank, a credit union, and then another bank.
Yeah,
Right?
I have a bank and two credit unions. So
Yeah,
and
there you go.
I'm thinking about switching bank because my banker left. So
They relational.
mhm. That's a
Great
great
question.
question.
Great questions.
Thank you.
Any
Yes,
other
Professor.
Yes,
And
sir.
I do have a question. Earlier, what's it called, when we were talking about funding businesses in 6 months and such, applying loans and all that. And I was wondering, this applies also to when it's first starting off, whenever you first put in money to start the business.
Mm-hmm.
So whenever you give, I'm assuming that probably accountants know more on how it would be classified. But when one's first starting off, how would one put it as like under their business expense or deposit whenever they put in personal funds into the business account?
Oh, great question. I struggled with this one for a while, and I screwed up my account so bad. So I'll definitely answer this one for you and let Professor jump in. Okay, when you start off with your business, that's why I went back to this slide right here where it says funding, right? So that $15,000, just assume it's one owner. Let's say it's you, Jose. Okay, say you got $15,000. What that is that basically is owner's equity on the balance sheet, right? Then you have what's called your chart of accounts, which is basically your ledger or all of the expenses you have as well as income coming into the business. Okay. Now, let's say you fortunately enough have done a successful business before and you need to add more money to the business. You don't want to go get a loan or anything, but you have capital you can add. What you do is you put up in a separate business account, right? So now, again, you need to go to your tax accountant and advisor and ask them about this. No liability here. But you can do what's called a capital contribution account. So whenever you need to contribute to that operating account, so now you have more than one account in your business. You have a capital contribution account where it's your money and you're actually increasing your shareholders' equity, okay, or owner's equity into the account is how it flows. Now you have capital contribution, and then you can put that into the operating account where you have all of these expenses, your fixed costs plus everything else. So that's how you can do it. So as you see here in this first part of this budgeting sheet, you got investor funding, that's owner's equity. You got loans, that would be a liability, right? Other funding, that's a grant. Okay, so that would be, I don't know how my accountant or bookkeeper would classify that, but they would come up with something on the ledger to tell you to properly label that or how they like to keep that accounting. So again, capital contribution account is when you're putting more capital into your business. It's your money.
So, a question that kind of pertains to that. When it would it deduct from let's say the government is aware that I have 30,000 in say my bank account and I take out 20,000 to start the business, and obviously that would be investment right there. Let's say what like when I report say my personal taxes, not the business taxes, would I put that as a deduction as $20,000 to an investment?
You should really go to your accountant on that. I don't want to really,
Yeah.
I don't really want to touch that one because I don't know how your books look. So I don't want to properly, because you just said that 30,000 was a loan, or was it the government money?
No, just personal funds.
Okay, but if it's your personal funds, right? Like I said, any money that goes into the business is either going to be owner's equity, right? Investor funding, but you're an owner, it's your business, right? And that you need to pump in more than this 15,000. That's called capital contribution, and that increases your owner's equity in the shareholders or owners' equity in the balance sheet, right? Then there's loans. That's flows to the liability. And then there's grants. I would check with how your potential bookkeeper or accountant that you use to do that. Anything outside of those three labels, really anything, I would go and ask a bookkeeper and accountant, how do they want to manage your books? And I'll tell you why I can't answer that specifically, because each business entity has a different profile for the IRS when it comes to what is allowable and deductible. Not all businesses are the same. A service business has a different type of allowable or deductions under certain things versus a product or widget or manufacturing business.
Mhm.
So that's why I really can't answer you, even if I was an accountant or a bookkeeper, right? Which I damn near am. So I had to become, because I found out people were stealing my money and double billing me, right? I was shocked. I didn't know that till I finally got a bookkeeper after the fact, and she was double billing me one time. I'm like, whoa, you got paid? Yeah. How do you like? You gotta watch. You gotta be the CEO. You gotta watch everything.
Yep.
So Jose, I would tell you to really get to with a bookkeeper or an accountant who's really good at the particular business you want to be in. They have Give me examples where I can get referrals that you have handled my kind of business, because they'll know what the profile should be, what the chart of accounts should look like, and what the general ledger should look like. So
Okay,
that was
and
actually a very good question. But I
another
can't
question
answer specifically.
that actually helped answer what I had for that. Yes. But another question regarding something you mentioned right now, bookkeeping. Would you recommend getting two bookkeepers, or would that be a waste of money?
Well, it depends on how big your business is, because what they do is that most bookkeepers / accountants / CPAs, depending upon, each one has a different rate. Bookkeeper is not necessarily has a CPA or has a finance background, but they're just good at it. They might have been an office manager. Okay, they generally will charge you by the hour, or they'll give you a flat fee. In that range, it depends different geographically. What I found here in the Dallas, Texas area, if you look at it here, the average virtual admin that is also good at bookkeeping and using QuickBooks that you could do yourself, they generally charge you $25 to $30 an hour. If you get up the line and you get into a bookkeeper who has a finance background, an accounting background, they have a degree, they've serviced your business before, they can give you referrals, they're going to charge you around 50 to 60 an hour. And then an actual CPA and a certified public accountant who has that accreditation and has serviced your business, they're generally going to go for 100 to 150 an hour.
Yep.
So, got it.
So there you go. So you get one of them, and you find one that's good at budgeting, so they can help you with your cash burn, because they want to make sure they get paid too. They don't want to get gypped, right? So you say, hey, are you good at budgeting? Have you done a business like me before? Can I talk to them, get referrals from them? And that is worth the price of admission there, brother, because that cost me literally thousands of dollars of mistakes. To be $136,000 one time from the bad, nasty letter from the IRS that we've had to fix ourselves. We fixed it, fortunately. It cost us $800 at the end. We proved to the IRS we didn't owe them that much money.
It's awesome. Sean, would you
great questions, man? These I really enjoyed this class. I could tell this. No, I'm not knocking the other class. I like them too, man. I like this group. I like this group a lot. They are all right.
Well, they like you too, Sean. They asked if they have you may contact you. Would you mind typing in your contact information in the chat box for me?
Yeah. The best way to do it is I'm gonna just give you my email, because if you call I do have my cell phone, my business cell phone number. But if I don't know you, I don't pick up, because I get people calling me all the time trying to sell me something, right? Or trying to recruit me to come do something for them. Like, you paying me? So what I'm going to do is, let me go in the chat. Is where I need to go, Matt?
Yes, sir.
Okay, let me bring it here. Where are we at? There we go. Where's the chat? There it is. All right, so all you got to do is, this is my business email. I'm putting it in now. And all you got to do is email me, right? And tell me you're from Matt's class, or Professor Houston's class. And then I'll give you my number. And we could talk that way. Because the pandemic killed me with my admin. I had a great admin and an office in right up the street here. And then unfortunately they shut down their office, so I lost my admin. So I have to be real careful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm in the search for one also.
Yeah, I know. I may have found actually a very good bookkeeper, because my accountant, she wants to get bigger, larger clients. So I'm transitioned to a young lady. I'm gonna test out and see if she's good. But she also does some administrative stuff. So I hope that works out well for me.
Good deal. Well, I want to be respectful of you all's time. Are there any other questions? We don't have anything else on my agenda for class. And so if there's nothing else, I want to wish you all a happy Thanksgiving. We don't have class next Wednesday. I will be on Zoom for a little bit on Wednesday evening. So yeah, so stop in, say hi, and things of that nature if you like. If not, I totally understand. Sean, thank you again for taking these time out both last week and today. We really appreciate you. It was some valuable information. I'll send you the hyperlink to your presentation in a few hours, and I'll post this on under the announcements in Canvas for us. So thank you all, and y'all have a great day.
Thank you.
Professor Houston, can I talk to you after you end the thing?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
All right, what's up?
Okay, thank you. Hold on.
I can't hear you. You're on mute now.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Just real quick. So for the other class,
Yes.
leadership. Okay. So I got the email that you sent right before class. I read that. So just a little recap on that.
Okay.
So so I sent out so before you sent that message, so I sent out a message and stuff to on the group Canvas thing, whatever. And then so I started a group chat, whatever. One person joined, and she went and sent out an actual Canvas email to everybody in the group. No response. You just sent out the message today. Hopefully people will, get it in gear or whatever. So my fear is that people are gonna try, because so I was talking to the girl and I was gonna ask you first if it was okay. My thing is like, I don't want people to try to join at the last minute just to say, oh, I'm in the group. I know in your message you said that you're grading off of participation on the assignment.
Yeah, because in that group, so it's different from your business plan, because people who actually contribute to the group have to present on the Zoom call.
Okay.
Because
So
you're submitting a presentation, and so if you all have an issue, one, if you need to let me know on the 25th when y'all submit this. I think that's next Wednesday. I'm going to see the names on this presentation that was presented. And so if you see people, if someone is coming in late and they still didn't contribute, y'all need to make a decision as to if y'all are going to include them or not. And if there's an issue, then I'll come in and mediate. But that's really, I'm leaving that up to each individual group. And then if necessary, I will mediate and make a decision.
Okay, so basically, so when I say join the group late, so is there, because I was gonna talk to her about maybe making it like Monday, as in like I'm gonna send her the message today. Oh, after I talk to you and then the other girl. But I was gonna say, hey, you guys, last call for the thing, whatever. By Monday, if you don't hit us up, like, because we need to get started. You know what I mean?
That's fine. That's fine. And I can't give you a definitive deadline, because some groups aren't going to start until Tuesday. And they meet on Tuesday. So, but if you have a regimented, if you have documented proof of
that we've been communicating,
like
reaching out and stuff.
Right. That supports your argument that you made goodwill attempts, good faith efforts.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. All right. Perfect. All right. Thank you.
No problem. Ali. Have a good one.
You too. Bye.